Introduction. Quote, "Imagination is more important than knowledge," unquote. Albert Einstein. There is a fat world and a thin world, and I have lived in both. I was obese for most of the first 42 years of my life, topping the scales at 328 pounds before I turned my eating habits inside out, began working out every day, ran 18 marathons, and dropped more than half my body weight in 15 months. I achieved goals beyond my wildest dreams, such as running the Boston Marathon in 2002 and in 2004, and appearing on the Oprah Winfrey Show in April of 2003. In my fat world, I didn't really like myself. I tried to please others. I wheezed when I walked and was perpetually tired. I didn't date because I was fat. And later, I felt lucky that anyone would want to marry me because I was obese. I didn't think I was entitled to a sexual life. I didn't keep scales in the house. Looking into a mirror made me uncomfortable because I had 3 chins. Shopping for a bathing suit was like taking a trip to hell. As a result of exercise and changing my diet, my life changed on every level. Borderline hypertension, constant backaches, water on the knee, irritable bowel syndrome, chronic fatigue, they have all disappeared. I have tons of energy and I am proud of the way I look. My days are filled with teaching running workshops, leading group fitness classes, dispensing nutritional guidance and sharing low-calorie recipes, personal training, and giving motivational talks. I am surrounded by active friends who love and cherish me. I discovered my self-esteem and found the courage to leave an unfulfilling marriage. I eat well, I move easily and with confidence. My own attitude is positive now. I no longer need to control others, and I embrace change. I feel free, alive, and transformed. I am finally the person I have always wanted to be. And it's been quite a journey. It started at age 42. I had to turn my life inside out, and many of these changes have been unexpected. I have had to cope with tremendous loss, the death of a best friend, death of a father, the death of a marriage. I have dealt with these difficult issues, such as raising a child with the same propensity to weight gain that I suffered all my life. I have learned how to set goals and then reach beyond them for new, more ambitious ones. I have had to dig down to the bottom of my physical reserves to complete difficult running goals. I've re-examined my values and made difficult decisions about cosmetic surgery. I've had to accept a completely new me. I've experienced the joy of helping others reach for their dreams. I have faced my fears over and over and stared them down in order to move on. Nothing is the same for me. Everyone has a story, and this one is mine. Me minus 173 pounds. Chapter 1. Then. The Epiphany Weekend. It was October 1998. It started out as any other weekend of my life. My son and I were to go with some friends to see a medieval time show. When the friends arrived at our house, one of them noticed a photo on my piano. She picked it up casually and asked who was in the photo. It was a picture of me taken shortly after the breakup of my first marriage. I'd lost a lot of weight before that picture was taken, although later I put it all back on and much more. Still, my friend's question stunned me because she didn't even recognize me. At that instant, a warning bell chimed in my heart. We moved into the kitchen and continued chatting. I carried the kitchen chair to the fridge to retrieve a crock pot from the cupboard. My friend offered to help me and stood easily onto the chair, reached into the cupboard, and climbed back down. She did this so effortlessly. She didn't even use her hands getting on or off the chair, and I would not have been able to do that. I would have been holding onto the back of that chair with a death grip, wondering if the chair would hold my weight. A second warning bell chimed in my head. At the medieval show, my son had a chance to ride one of the horses. Afterwards, in the blush of excitement, he asked if I would take him out horseback riding. "Would you ride with me, Mama?" I stared at him, like not a chance. I liked horses, so I would never climb up on top of one. The poor thing would need a chiropractor. "Mama?" He wasn't sure that I'd heard the question. "We'll see," was all I could manage. Warning bell number 3 chimed away. A storm was brewing inside me. Obviously, my weight was preventing me from doing all kinds of things around the house and with my son. The first moment of truth came after we got home that evening. My son wanted to take a picture of me in front of the piano I had just purchased for him. I protested, but he insisted, taking out his Polaroid and positioning me on the piano bench. The picture was in front of my nose in minutes. With Polaroids, there were no excuses. You couldn't say, "Oh, that was taken weeks ago. I don't look anything like that now." So when that picture emerged, I gazed at it in disbelief. You could barely see the piano. You know, it's difficult to describe my horror at that photograph. I was wearing one of my signature tunic tops, burgundy colored with stretchy black jeans. The top was a size 4X and the jeans were a size 28. Both were the largest sizes in the large size women's dress store. There was nothing bigger available. What was I going to do if I gained any more weight? Who is the person in that photo? It certainly did not match the image of what I looked like in my head. Later that evening, an old friend I hadn't seen for years asked me out for a drink. No way, I thought. I didn't want anyone to see me like this. But then I realized that everyone saw me like this every day of my life. And don't you think this is why you feel so lousy all the time, I thought? So tired, so irritable? How long is it going to be before you become a diabetic or have your first triple heart bypass? Because that's the road you're going down, girl. You just ask your father. He knows all about it. He's had 2 triple bypasses and has type 2 diabetes. And I knew I had to do something. So I drove to the store and bought a good set of scales, came home, set it up in the bathroom. I took my time adjusting the scale to read 0. No sense adding unnecessary weight to the inevitable truth. When I stood on those scales, I looked down and I thought, I weigh 28 pounds. The red needle had gone all the way around, past the 0 mark, and settled back into the 28. I got off the scale, paused for a moment, climbed back on again. 28. This meant one of 2 things. The scale is broken, or I weigh 328 pounds. No way, I thought. That's not possible. My second moment of truth. It wasn't just a fire alarm anymore. The whole house was on fire. How had this happened? It was impossible. But on another level, I knew the truth. I could see the fast food, the chocolate bars every day, often more than one, the entire white baguette and half a jar of processed cheese food for lunch, the 2 huge homemade burgers and homemade French fries and Caesar salad and chocolate cake for dinner. I was enormous, unhealthy, and really unhappy. I had spent most of my 42 years seesawing between morbid obesity and not quite morbid obesity. It was time for a solution, something permanent. 2 weeks later, I walked into my doctor's office. I'd already started my new approach to life, so when I stepped on the scales, they read 316.5 pounds. I told her about my plans for a new me. She listened, agreed it was time, and told me to eat sensibly. Leaving her office, I threw out the bill for the weigh scales. They were working properly. No need to return them. It was time to change. Chapter 2. Now, the Boston Marathon. On April 15th, 2002, I ran the Boston Marathon. It was the most incredible feeling I have ever experienced. I ran with the fastest runners in the world. I finished far behind them, but that did not diminish my huge personal triumph. I was stronger than I had ever thought possible and proved it that day. I took a year of grief and death and turned it all around, one step at a time, one goal at a time, leading to this challenge until finally it was over and I was looking in amazement at a dream fulfilled. A friend of mine once described the Boston Marathon as the Mecca of all marathons. It's the world's most famous race and the ultimate challenge for distance runners. You can't just sign up for it, you have to earn your entry. You qualify by running a previous marathon in a designated time determined by your age and gender. It's not easy. Many people never qualify and others try for years. A sign at the Sports Expo the day before the race summarized the hype. Quote, Boston Marathon, the greatest running event since, well, ever, unquote.